From the rugged shore and woodlands of the north, its history of copper mines and iron ore, the Great Lakes fisheries. To the farmlands of the southern counties we'll look around again, at all that waits the sportsman in the state of Michigan. And sometimes when the moon brings out the diamonds in the snow, and the stillness of the forest lies encased in Arctic cold, the wind might whisper through the trees, listen if you can, it tells you of the beauty in this state of Michigan.
Hi there, sportsmen. Come on in. I'm smiling because last week on Big Buck Night, we set pledge records around the state. You folks did it by calling in your pledges, and we thank you for that. We do have this evening 2 interviews of people we couldn't squeeze on Big Buck Night, so you're going to hear their stories this evening. But first of all, we're going to take you up to the Pigeon River country. We have some spectacular footage of our Michigan elk and a report on the elk hunt 1988. So you stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost. It's Thursday night, time for Michigan Outdoors. Doesn't look like something you'd see in Michigan, does it? A bull elk. No, it's not on a hunting preserve or enclosed in a zoo. This is one of Michigan's wild bull elk of the Pigeon River country, a wild tract of land in the northeastern Lower Peninsula that's perfect elk habitat. So perfect that the elk herd has come upon boom times in the past 20 years. Their numbers approach 1,000 after the calves are dropped in the spring. And as far as the local landowners and farmers in the DNR are concerned, that's a few hundred elk too many. This spectacular footage was taken by DNR photographer Dave Kenyon, documenting the numbers and the size of Michigan's elk in 1988. This was taken just before the December hunt the DNR regulates so that elk numbers are trimmed back before winter. 72 elk were harvested in a special October hunt this year. This was on the western end of the Michigan Elk Range. That part of the herd migrates into protected areas by December, and the DNR didn't want that part of the herd to get too far out of control. Now, when I'm talking about a wildlife population getting out of control like elk or deer, I'm talking about constant increases in their numbers to the point that they actually destroy the habitat they live in. They destroy it for their own species, they destroy it for other species that normally live there. The Black River Ranch is managed by Jerry Gillette, who talked to Bob Garner about this Black River herd.
Looking around at this clearing, now you say, when did you cut this clearing?
This was cut about 5-6 years ago.
5 or 6 years ago?
This was supposed to have been a grouse habitat or woodcock habitat cut. And it should be 8, 9, 10 feet high by this time, and, well, let's see what you got.
Well, you should have been able to shoot woodcock here this fall.
Right, that was the object. We've been doing this, and every time we make a cut now, we got more open acres. We have about 150 elk in here in the fall. And you can see what they're doing, like a mowing machine. So we can't handle 150 elk in this place.
Land managers like Jerry serve as guides during the annual elk hunts, taking the lucky hunters to the areas the elk are most likely to be found. On opening day, cameraman James Ford followed Jerry, who was taking Steve Leiter from Grass Lake onto the Black River Ranch, and it didn't take long to locate a couple of trophy bulls. If Steve wasn't so nervous and excited, he could have loaded his rifle in 1/4 the time. Steve was one of 145 successful applicants whose names were drawn by computer to receive December elk hunting permits. He's going for a bull elk that weighs 5 times as much as an average white-tailed deer, 5 times the venison in one shot. Let's be real quiet and tag along as he stalks within shooting range.
There's 2 of them.
This one right here, between them 2 trees here.
This one right here?
Right, that's the biggest.
There's one over here on the right, one on the left.
The one on the left's the biggest one. He's got a beautiful ride.
His first shot missed, so he squeezes slowly on his second. The big bull didn't flinch at the shot. It may not have felt anything, but it was a vital hit, and the effect of the bullet put the bull down quickly and humanely. If Steve was excited loading his rifle and trying to hold steady on the shot, can you imagine how he must feel right now? There's a certain anxiety most hunters feel about putting a big animal like this down. But when it's over, he'll have those big 6x5 antlers on the wall and at least 150 pounds of venison for the freezer.
We were just right over there interviewing a hunter, just right over there, 200 yards, who had a nice cow. Looked across, there goes a bull by in the back of a pickup truck. But look at this bull. Look at this bull. This is a big 6x6. Now, what's your name?
Joel Stoic.
Joel, what? This is opening morning, and you've already got a trophy of a lifetime.
Yeah, that's it. I never thought it'd be this big. I was happy to get a smaller one, but man, when I shot this thing, went down, second shot, walked over there, and just horns, big. Couldn't believe it.
You didn't realize how big it was when you saw it, right?
No idea. I had no idea it was that big until I got about 50 yards from it. It was about 200 yards away, and when I walked up on it, just all I could see was those horns.
Those antlers fill up the back of a pickup truck, not to mention the rest of the elk. He's a big one.
Big.
Is this exciting?
Oh, yeah, it was. I was excited.
What happens when you get that permit in the mail? Not all of us have ever had that feeling, huh?
Couldn't talk. I couldn't believe it. First, when it came, I thought it was my doe permit. And I said, why would they send a doe permit registered letter? And then I opened it, and elk permit, I could see that. I couldn't even talk. It was like winning a lottery. For me, to be a hunter, to get one.
You feel more like a millionaire right now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'd probably rather have this than a lottery.
Well, Joel Stoic's family might prefer a couple of $1 million instead of a 6x6 bull elk, but like most dyed-in-the-wool hunters, it's difficult for us to put a price or a value on our right to hunt. Besides trimming the herd back to a more manageable size, the DNR's controlled elk hunt gives many families and friends a chance to enjoy meals made from excellent elk venison. That's a rare treat in itself. Hunters had a good track record on the December hunt. 143 out of 145 filled their tags legally and ethically. One hunter took a bull when he had a permit for a cow only. He was arrested. The other unsuccessful hunter gave up and went home after 3 days. The state record for weight was broken twice. The new record bull was a 6x6 that weighed 770 pounds, field dressed. All this adds up to the fact that Michigan's elk are bigger and healthier than ever in 1988.
No, you're not seeing double. Perry Lund of Gladstone caught both of these perch on Big Bay Tinock. The biggest was 15 1/4 inches, weighed 2 pounds. Scott Kahn of Detroit caught this 3-pound pink salmon in Lake Michigan on a Hottentot. And here's a Grand River 21-pound 3-ounce catfish caught by Donald Johnston of Grand Rapids. He caught it on a soft-shelled crab. Kim Bonner of Shelbyville caught this 9-pound 13-ounce walleye in Gun Lake jigging a Hopkins spoon. And here's a December archery buck that scores 43.5 in the Stroh system, was taken in Allegan County by Philip Wright of Allegan. Young Joe Judge of Shepherd makes all of us proud with his huge elk. Now, it's reported that he passed up several big bulls in order to get this one late in the season, only 6 hours left. It's a record book elk, a 7x6 that weighed in at 568 pounds field dressed. Now, Joe was only 14 when he tagged this monster, but whether Joe was 14 or 40, it doesn't matter. He's earned his title as the Michigan Outdoors Trophy Elk Hunter of the Week. As of last week, 47 persons had purchased lifetime licenses. 17 sportsman's licenses were sold. About half the licenses bought were gifts. And 2 key bills for sportsmen passed in the waning hours of the legislative session. One bill makes the serving a wild game, including muskrats, legal for nonprofit groups like sportsmen's clubs. The other allows the DNR to regulate the trapping of turtles. Both bills were sponsored by pro sportsman Representative Jerry Bartnick. Next legislative session expects State Senator Jim Barsha of Bay City to come up with an innovative approach to solving the trespass problem. He tells me he's got a couple of bills in the works. No doubt there'll be advertising on the fishing guide this year. Fish Chief John Robertson says the company selling the advertising will print the guide for nothing, saving the Fish and Game Fund well over $100,000.
There's a difference in the DNR of today as compared to the DNR I knew and enjoyed just a few months ago. Since DNR Director Gordon Geyer left, the morale among the field workers is at shoelace level. It's the worst I've ever seen it. And there's a feeling that the hunting and fishing issues are taking a backseat to everything else. It's a common complaint and a well-reasoned one too, and it stems in a large part from the fact that the DNR's top gun, Director David Hales, is simply not suited to the job. Now, the commissioners that run the department should have never picked him, even though they were under pressure from the governor's office to do so. And it was unfair of the governor to push a candidate so ill-equipped for the job. All previous directors have spoken out with authority and knowledge on behalf of sportsmen, and there's been a common bond between directors and sportsmen and DNR workers in the field, but not with Hales. David Hales might have administrative skills that could benefit other state agencies. He is an intelligent guy, but in the DNR, he's a fish out of water. He's floundering and suffocating both himself and the department.
Ron Branda from Standish saw a photo in the Bay City Times of a fisherman with 6 fishing poles and rod holders. He says, the caption reads, "This lone angler keeps an eye on 6 fishing poles all at once while fishing at the mouth of the East Branch of the Au Gres River. He's patiently waiting for a fish to strike." Ron asked me if that isn't illegal because you can only have 2 lines and not more than 4 hooks in Michigan waters. It's true, Ron. Many states have similar laws, but you don't have to be standing right next to your fishing rod to have it under control. It's my guess that anglers who owned the other 4 rods were actually standing in the water or on shore just a few feet away. That's why they weren't in the picture.
Well, it was wet all fall. I was in the process of climbing up my tree the 26th of October. It's about 2/3 of the way up a big oak tree, and I slipped and lost my balance. Came crashing down on the back of my neck. I broke a couple vertebrae and a rib. Ended up spending 4 days in a Manistee hospital. Thought that was it for my hunting season for the rest of the year, but with the use of this brace, after a couple weeks, I was fortunate to get up and around and start walking again. Got out gun hunting a few times.
And you got
fortunately. Yeah. Well, I hunted this area a few times before, only seen a few deer.
This buck of Kelly Kyers from Holland is a wildlife oddity. A buck in advanced stages of velvet, it wasn't in the rut or even interested in breeding due to a hormonal imbalance. One antler is 17 inches long, a single spike. The other antler has an unusual 3 points, all covered with soft velvet that have turned to small hairs, sort of like a fuzzy caterpillar. This type of rack is rarely seen, and Kelly's circumstance was also unique, to say the least. And you were there in your back brace.
Yeah.
This can't be all that comfortable, is it?
No, I got to hold my gun a little bit different than I usually do, but I did a little bit of practicing the last day before gun hunting season, you know. I didn't want to.
Now, what did your doctor tell you about this? Did he say, hey, go ahead and go out hunting and shooting?
Well, I didn't really ask him too much about it.
You just wanted to get out there.
Yeah. He said, do what I can do, and
so I
got out there.
You broke or cracked a couple of vertebrae?
2 vertebrae and a rib, yeah.
Boy, that was with a fall like that from a tree, a lot of people will end up paralyzed.
I was very thankful. Very thankful.
Kelly Kyers was a lucky hunter, and if his recuperation goes well, he won't have problems in the future. But what do hunters do who end up with serious disabilities that seriously affect their ability to hunt? Start a handy camp, like this one up in Rust, Michigan, near Hillman. This was Roger McCarville's idea, inspired by our Outdoors Forever program. Roger pulled together a group of 8 hunters, most of them physically handicapped, and they bought the old township hall. They're still working on it, but with the help from some able-bodied friends, before long they'll have a first-class facility they'll use as a handicapper-accessible hunting camp.
And this is the old JP room where the judge would sit. We're going to take this and kind of do like they do on this old house. We're going to have this old camp, and we're going to fix this corner into a barrier-free, accessible bathroom. And this is going to be where we're going to put the stair glide so that we can just wheel up here and go right on down to the second level where we do our living. You know, the north is beautiful. And we're looking at through Outdoors Forever. Why doesn't everybody get up here and enjoy it? Mm-hmm. Outdoors Forever doesn't have the money to buy a camp. We'd like to someday. But right now, Bill Breck and Don Basie and I were up here one day doing the bow show, and we drove by this place and saw this ramp out in the front and had a for sale sign, the old Russ Township Hall. And they were going to tear this down, tear the ramp. We said, wow, wait a minute. And we got a group of the Irish guys and some other handicapped guys together. We bought this place for a hunting camp and fishing camp for folks to use.
Now, you've been sort of lucky, too, that you don't own a bunch of land with this. It's a lot, you know, just a standard-sized lot, but other people have taken in a few hunters,
oh, sure.
hunters.
We have some of the camps up here that have invited some guys. Everybody, you can't take a whole bunch of folks, but everybody can take a hunter or two on their land, and it make it so they can get in and they can hunt from a vehicle if you got a handicap permit, and it seems to be working very well.
Do you think the guys feel comfortable up here?
Oh, they love
the
it.
camp a couple of weeks.
Yeah. We just closed on it. We had the closing over in Atlanta in the courthouse. They're telling everybody about it. And that's the key. If we can show folks that, hey, it's not over. The North is for everybody. Maybe the paralyzed veterans or another organization, they can get a camp and bring the folks up here.
Opening day, cameraman John Ford and I spent until dark in Iron County. We saw lots of does and only one buck, a story in itself. But not that far north from our hunting area was this pile of bucks taken by 10 fellows who have hunted up there for years from a tent camp. The largest of their 14 deer was this 16-pointer that Bob Gear from Charlevoix bagged on opening morning. And it wasn't the first deer that Bob had taken from his stand on opening day. Hunting not that far away from me. How big was that one?
6 point.
You racked up one fine deer season in about 2 hours.
15 minutes.
Oh, 15 minutes. You mean you got that 6 point 15 minutes before this?
Right.
You're so darn calm about it. You had to be beside yourself.
Well, I was a little excited when I seen this one.
I guess. What a time. Well, I bet you're looking forward to next year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I imagine that you saw the tape of my opening day not too far from you.
I loved it.
You loved it?
I loved it. I loved it.
Well, I loved it. Actually, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well,
I did. What day? But that is a great buck. That's why we were up there, John.
That's
To
right.
get stuff like that. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Super story. What a hunter. What a group of hunters to end up with a buck pole like that. Well, we might as well talk about my opening day again. Nobody can believe that I couldn't see that buck that you folks, sitting at home, watching your full-size color TVs, could see so plainly. Keep in mind that that deer was 300 or 400 yards away when I first saw it, and in the rain, no way its antlers showed up. John was taping it for 38 seconds before he saw antlers, and the reason is the camera viewfinder. Our $12,000 videotape unit has a tiny black and white viewfinder screen. This is just about its actual size right here, so you can see his problem. The closest the deer came in the fog was about 100 yards. That's when it turned and its antlers were most visible. On a full-size color monitor, that's easy to see, but neither my eyes nor John's 24-power telephoto lens could detect antlers until it was too late. But I wasn't that disappointed. Just knowing a buck that size was in the area kept me alert and on my toes right up until dark. So I got my big buck on opening day. It just so happens it was on TV. That's deer hunting.
At what outside temperature should you begin taking precautions against hypothermia? Most any temperature if you're wet, when your body temperature drops below 99 degrees, you are in danger. This can happen on a 60-degree day if your body is wet and you don't have protection against the wind.
Angela Maynard from Madison Heights was a winner in our Fish and Wild Game Cook-Off last year with Elk Loaf. Since it's elk season, we're featuring this recipe, but Kathy Beitler, we have to use deer venison, not elk venison.
All venison, but yeah, there is a little bit of difference. And this recipe has all your regular ingredients in it. There's your elk or venison we used. And
well,
you see,
elk is venison
yes.
as well as, well, moose or caribou. It's all called
venison. And you see little pieces of fat in it that having to get through. This has all your regular ingredients. It's got your onions and eggs and breadcrumbs, and we use cracker crumbs here.
Now, hold it. You said some of the fat in there you can see in that ground venison. Is that just fat from the venison?
Yes, because I don't have to add any. No
Would you
pork.
prefer that it didn't have any fat in it?
Yes.
Really?
Yep. Oh, absolutely. And then you're going to go ahead and mix this up and put it into your loaf pan. And then this bakes for an hour at 350 degrees.
Back to the fat in the venison. I don't mind a little teeny taste of it as long as it's good shoulder fat or something
okay,
like
but
that.
that's a problem. You never know when you send it to a processor what it is, so I just soon not have
Now,
it in
what's
there.
this?
This is ketchup and mustard and brown sugar, and it just goes on top rather than your tomato sauce inside the meatloaf itself. Just adds a nice little crust, and it's pretty good.
So how long do you serve
then
it
it
right
just
away?
goes back in for 15 minutes. Goes back in the oven for another 15 minutes to cook on top.
I have a feeling that brown sugar is going to be a big hit with Bob Garner.
Excellent. Good stuff. One thing about using venison in it, too, is it's not as fatty as maybe hamburger or something.
Oh, yeah.
Meatloaf's always been kind of something to use up hamburger with, but this is something you want to make special. I think you'd serve this to company. Good stuff.
Definitely.
That's true, though, that venison, whether it's deer, elk, or moose, or caribou, or whatever, is particularly suited to the hamburger type of, because it doesn't have all that greasy fat.
Yeah, this one sure doesn't because
this is good.
There's no fat added. I know for a fact.
That's right. We never have the butcher or somebody process our deer. We never have them add the fat because venison is so good when it's lean.
You don't need it.
As long as you don't cook the blame thing for
That's right. And
4
this sure
hours
wasn't.
or something and dry it out.
Where you can wear it as an insert to your sole or something on your shoe, yeah.
But this is super. Winter is here. Get outdoors if you can this weekend. It's a great place to be. See you next week. Michigan Outdoors was brought to you statewide by the East Michigan Chevy Value Leaders, the nation's top-selling group of Chevrolet car and truck dealers, including Bandine Chevrolet in Midland, Belldine Chevrolet Oldsmobile Pontiac in Durand, and Dave Hall in Marlette.
Major funding for this program was provided by STRO. By joining together as partners to preserve our natural treasures, together we ensure our right to enjoy them. STRO, partners in preserving America's outdoor heritage.
Next week on Michigan Outdoors, it's our Christmas special show. We're going to take you on a special duck hunt with Dave Durrell. We're going to hear some great fishing tales from our Fishing Awards banquet. And Bob Garner will have an update on that mercury situation you may have heard about in the news about the fish. It isn't as bad as it sounds. He'll bring us up to date on that, so join us next week right here on PBS.